let's just go in for it, but we're not gonna stress. But yeah, that's what got me into art. Holly, stop snoring, and don't be afraid to paint with watercolor. Hello everybody, welcome to this new video. I am going to try out a different way of filming, which is talking to the camera directly while I'm painting. It's going to be more of a real-time video of me painting instead of just a voiceover. So bear with me as I haven't really done this a lot before. So I got a new mic, and that's mainly the reason why. Before I didn't have a mic for this camera, and the audio, I just wasn't happy with the audio. Today we are going to be painting some river rocks. I recently finished a river painting of water and rocks and in the woods, and I really liked how that came out, and I haven't really done a lot of painting of water. So today we're going to tackle this piece, this rock scene, and we will see how it turns out. So now I'm just going to start blocking in the rocks, and I think mostly the ones that are kind of out of the water, because those are the ones that will be more detailed, and then the ones under the water will be more blurred and murky. So if you're following along or gonna do this, I would block out the shapes of the rocks that are more out of the water, and then maybe just, I don't know, I might do a couple shapes for the ones under the water, but it's not gonna be that detailed or anything. And I'm just gonna do watercolor, and yeah, let's start this sketch. I have got the base sketch down, and now I'm going to go in with water in between most of these rocks, and I'm going to make it wet, and then I'm going to mix different colors like red and all the different colors of the stones in the water, gray, some gray with blue. Yeah, just mix like earthy tones. And I'm not gonna go into big detail about the different colors I use, but it's mostly earthy tones. So most of these colors, so I'll be using black, brown, some earthy reds. I can't recall the names of these two, but they're like warmer browns. So let's get started. I'm gonna put a wash of just water with my brush like this. I would love to know what you guys are painting. If you're painting anything, what's your favorite thing to paint in your sketchbook or experiment with? I definitely go into different moods. So sometimes I'll paint like chickens or food, and those kind of can be turned into stickers, or they're kind of small little illustrations that are cute, and sometimes they're realistic. And then sometimes I like to do these types of things. Holly. And I like to do these types of things where they're more watercolor scenes, do more traditional scenes like this. Also, the season that we're in definitely affects my paintings and stuff. If it's like really snowy out, I like to paint snowy scenes. If it's fall, I like to paint fall scenes, of course. So now we have a good base of water around, a wash of water. And I'm going to start mixing my colors. I'm gonna do some brown, and then some more brown. And if they bleed into each other, it doesn't really matter. A little bit darker here so I can take from that. And also blues. Don't be afraid to experiment with different colors. You know, there's rocks with every type of color, so it doesn't really matter. As long as it's not like bright purple or something, I think you'll be fine. So just have fun with the different colors and just make sure they're more muted. So adding like black to blue and just watering it down so it's not so potent. So now let's just go in for it. And with the nice layer of water, even layer, going to blend in with each other and just do various types of shapes. I'm going to go in with some brown, lighter brown. And then once this is dry, we're going to go in between and kind of outline them with a darker color to make them more prominent, because in real life there's not like, you don't see white in between the rocks. You'll see dark lines because of the shadows, obviously. We will do that when it is dry so it doesn't bleed, because we don't want that to bleed. Holly, stop snoring. Let's go in with some bigger, smaller. We want this to be realistic, but we're not gonna stress over all the details. You know, some details are left out, and that's what can make it seem realistic. Not everything needs to be perfect, especially with like this rock scene. It's not a big deal. I haven't painted a lot of water at all, really. I don't know, I haven't had the urge to paint water. But recently, as I was telling you, I painted a river scene, and I just really like painting water. And the reference was from a picture I took. It was really fun to paint a picture from something I've taken. Yeah, it was really fun. I went really detailed. I spent a couple days on it here and there in the evenings, just having fun. Let me know if you like these types of videos. I did put a poll up on my community page if you guys wanted to see more tutorial style videos. I thought I would try doing a video like this where it's real-time talking. Sometimes I like watching those, and I've never done one on my channel, and I thought, why not try? So that's what I'm doing. Feel like there's a different feel to it when you're real-time talking. It's more authentic, not as polished, and that's nice to see. It kind of gives it more of a human aspect and more like we're just sitting down talking, you and I, and that's really fun to do. And then once this dries, we might layer as well, do some other ones. On my sketchbook, I'm using a Strathmore 300 GSM paper. So here, this rock is like underwater. I did some circles around it, so we know that. Have you guys painted a lot of watercolor, or would you like to see more gouache tutorials? I would like to know what you guys do. I definitely go in spurts. Sometimes I feel watercolor, and then other times I'm just not feeling it. I definitely give different looks, watercolor and gouache. I sometimes do both in a painting. This, I will use a little bit of gouache for like the water reflections and details, but other than that, it's gonna be mostly watercolor. So as I'm painting some of the rocks, I'm putting down a layer of the color, and then I'm taking a darker shade of that color, like blue, and then I added more black, and I'm just going around the rim of it because it'll be darker in the water. So this is kind of like where the lighter part is where it's popping up out of the water. And while it's still wet, it kind of leaves a little bit of blending if it's still wet, but you can always dry your brush and go around the edge and kind of blend it out yourself if you want that look. I think I'm using a 10 brush, 10 round. I got it from Opus. It doesn't really matter what size you use, whatever you're comfortable with, but bigger brushes are nice to get more paint on right away, and just so it's loose and you're not focusing on details or anything. Also, I'm working on a shop launch soon. I do stickers, prints, and I do have some originals on there if you want one of my originals. It always makes my day when you guys enjoy my art or purchase stickers or prints. It's really cool to see my art from the sketchbook into stickers or prints that go off to people. It is an honor that you guys enjoy my art, and I hope I inspire you to paint in your sketchbook. And don't be afraid to paint with watercolor. I know it's daunting because you can't really go back once you put down a color, but that is the fun of it. So now that it is dry, the blendy layer, I am putting more rocks on top that are crisper. Also, I would love to know what got you into painting. I have always liked drawing, and my drawings were mostly people, but they were like kind of stick people, not very great. And they were just with pencil, and that's how I filled my time with art. And then what started me on to watercolor was some watercolor brush pens I got, I think, at Christmas from my brother. And they were Ohuhu. I still have them, watercolor brush pens. And so then I ordered an actual palette and a tin of watercolors. But yeah, that's what got me into art, and I was hooked. I would paint outside on our deck. It's so interesting how watercolor can look so detailed, but it's really, sometimes it can just be blobs, and the intentionality of the paint stroke or the blotch of color just does it all, and you don't need every stroke or detail. It's just beautiful the way it is. And there's this one artist, he is just so talented at doing watercolor landscapes, and I can't think of his name right now, but I will put it on the screen. And it's just the way he does landscapes and trees and colors is just beautiful. Now I'm going to go in between the pebbles and make wherever the white is, I'm going to make it darker so there's shadows. I am just going to blur some of just with water on a brush, bigger brush. I was using a smaller brush. Okay, this doesn't have a size either. I don't even know what size. Whatever. Okay, now I am using a bigger brush and just some water. I'm gonna blend some of well, not blend, but kind of blur some of the rocks so they're not so prominent. And I'm gonna go around in circles with a slightly damp brush around the rocks that are poking out of the water. So it looks kind of like it's, blurry. And maybe just, around. If it's underwater, it's not going to be super detailed, and I don't want all of it to be super detailed. Just in random spots. And you can choose what you want and don't want. If you want it more, rigid and not as loose, you can go ahead, not do this part. Just going lightly over some areas that I want a little bit more blurry. It's getting kind of dark now, so I'm going to take a break. I might do a couple touch-ups, maybe make some areas a little darker. But overall, I think this is looking all right. And the next part we are going to do is add the highlights and the ripples of the water to make it look like it's wet and kind of moving a little bit. So now the next thing I'm going to do is put rings around the rocks that are coming out of the water. I already did some off camera, so I'm gonna continue to do that, and I'm just doing it with a bluey black color, and yeah, I'll finish that right now. Next, I'm taking some white gouache with a little bit of blue, just so it's not like really, really white, because that isn't super realistic if you use straight white. So I'm gonna water it down a little bit, and I'm gonna do the edges and wherever I see highlights to make it look more realistic. So I'll do that right now. So now that I have the highlights, a light blue highlight around the rocks and kind of put a lighter wash of water. So now I have the highlights around the rocks, and I did put a light wash of that same color to make it look like water is moving around the rocks as well. And now I'm gonna take some highlights and put it around the rocks with just white gouache. And I'm gonna do it very sparingly because I don't want it to overpower the painting. So this painting is pretty much done. I might do a couple touch-ups on it, but it is looking pretty good, I think. I would love to know if you followed along or painted this in your sketchbook. Please let me know if you would like to see more videos like this, more real-time talking, going through my process as I'm painting it, or if you like the voiceover more than this. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it was a really fun one, and I really like the perspective of the painting, and I've never done a painting like this before. So I encourage you to try new things in your sketchbook. I hope this inspired you or just entertained you, and I will see you as always in the next video. If you want to support me, please hit that subscribe button or visit my art shop. I would be so grateful to you. I have stickers, prints, originals on there, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone. Until next time.